Well, when the scandal exploded, many began wondering if the Murdoch's other news outlets also engaged in phone hacking, especially those in the US, Murdoch's most lucrative market. Well, the FBI has even launched an investigation. Eric Boehlert is a senior fellow with the watchdog group Media Matters for America. He's also the author of Lapdogs, How the Press Rolled Over for Bush. He comes to us from CNN New York today. Thank you so much for joining us. Was the culture in the news of the world unusual, a pocket of culture within the wider News Corporation machine?
I would say yes and no. I mean, there's a certain Fleet Street culture of sort of adopting the dark arts in terms of obtaining information in literally any way possible. That culture does not exist in the United States, even in the celebrity tabloids, and I don't think it exists at News Corp, at Fox News, or certainly the Wall Street Journal. But I would say yes, because we do see a strain of corruption and criminality within News Corp in the United States. News Corp companies, not necessarily the media outlets, but other subsidiaries, have had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to settle lawsuits in the last couple of years. One of the lawsuits was a hacking lawsuit. One of the lawsuits was about how a News Corp company had hacked into its competitors' computers. So I think there's a larger News Corp culture, which is there are no rules, we make them up. Rupert said it's okay.
And we don't often get to hear the details of these court cases, do we? Because there's this culture, as it were, in the boardroom to reach settlements outside courts. So therefore, all the parties involved go quiet.
Right.
So I wonder...
There's... In the United States, there was one case. Again, this was a subsidiary, News America, which is sort of a marketing company. That case got to trial for a few days, and it was so damaging, they ended up paying $30 million essentially to stop the trial. Again, this was the allegation that a News Corp company had hacked into a competitor's computers. News Corp conceded that its computers were used for the hacking, but claimed it couldn't figure out who did it. An expert who looked at the News Corp's investigation determined it was sort of a joke. It's sort of reminiscent of the internal investigation that News Corp did in the early days of the phone hacking scandal in Britain. So there is sort of a pattern, hacking followed by these sort of inept investigations where News Corp says, oh, we're clean, only to find out later they're really not.
And how clean does this leave the Murdochs? Because when Rupert Murdoch appeared here in London talking about the news of the world, he was very clear to say he was very disappointed in the managers underneath him because he didn't have a clue about this. But does this leave the Murdochs clean? Because if it does, it suggests they're not in great leadership. But does it leave them clean? Is this a problem beneath them?
Oh, it's a huge problem beneath them. I mean, it continues to be a very pressing legal problem in Britain. I think in the United States, it's more of a PR problem and a reputation problem. I mean, for the last couple decades, I mean, Rupert Murdoch has been toasted as sort of this master of the universe, one of the most important media moguls on the planet. He's been toasted in all the glossy magazines in the United States, running incredibly successful media companies, movie studios, television, courting politicians. He's gone from this sort of master of the universe to really now this sort of Nixonian figure, sort of a broken man who can't stop this cover-up from stopping. So I think in the United States, he's taken an extraordinary hit on his reputation. I don't think he'll ever get his old reputation back. And I think News Corp now in the United States, just sort of in general, is now synonymous with lawbreaking.
And very quickly, there's a big question now about who's going to succeed him, right?
Yeah, right.
It's not necessarily
the question is, James... Yeah, I mean, James Murdoch was always supposed to be the successor. I think he's probably going to be called back in front of Parliament again. I mean, there's all kinds of indications that his testimony in July was not accurate. The question is, how long does News Corp want to continue to have its most senior executive completely tainted with this?
Eric Boehlert, thank you very much indeed for joining us from New York.